أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Inshallah, I think we'll start with our homework, which is Surah Kahf. The story of Dhul Qarnayn, and in the light of the Trigonals. I think that was the Inshallah, let me hear what everybody has. That's leisure.
No, I'm sorry, this is not. I'll submit it after. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm very sorry.
Inshallah. Was very out.
So I have that the story begins
Mm-hmm.
with the setting place of the sun in a murky expanse.
Mm-hmm.
So I said it's a representation of the first time, the first water, and liquor,
Mm-hmm.
the entry point.
Yes.
So the story begins with Inaba and returning back to the beginning. And here there's a mix of people who are righteous and those who transgress. So
Mm-hmm.
there's not a unification, but a need for a restoration of justice.
Mm-hmm.
And also when Dhul Qarnayn decides to punish the wrongdoers, he mentions that then they'll be brought back to their Lord, which is a reminder that we'll all be returned back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also connected to Tawbah. And then I connected each part in Dhul Qarnayn's story with Musa and Al-Khidr's story as well.
Okay.
So I thought that we could see a connection with the idea of saving those who are righteous from those who are not. So in both stories, there are people who need helping. In the story of Al-Khidr, it was the people on the ship who needed the ship to be cracked to be saved from the king. So there's like a separation from saving the righteous while there's not mercy shown to those who wrong their own souls.
Mm-hmm.
And then another interesting connection was that when Musa asks Al-Khidr to not raise difficulty for him, and then in the story of Dhul Qarnayn, that first part of the story ends with, we shall not impart to him from our commandment, or we shall impart to him from our commandment a word of ease.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the first part ends.
Okay.
And then the next part of the story of Dhul Qarnayn is followed by the rising point of the sun. So it makes sense that the rising point follows the setting point,
Mm-hmm.
because we know that Iman follows Tawbah,
Mm-hmm.
and that the setting place is a point of entry and the rising place is a place of expansion, closeness with Allah, and a metaphor for enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that he would meet people here that need no veil between them and the sun, since they've already reached enlightenment, and the fire of the sun is already like cool and peace on them.
Yeah.
And it also mentions we had already encompassed them with news about him from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they've already passed the stage of Tawbah with news from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then another element of Iman Quran is like unification and life. So those who have reached enlightenment have reached complete unification and are able to fully live without restriction, which is exemplified by those with no veil between them and the sun. And we also see that there's only one type of people here. So there's no distinction between those who are righteous and those who are not, since they're all the same. So that's the unity. And then in connection with the story of Musa, I'm not sure if this makes sense, but they both have a knowledge of something from before. So in Dhul-Qarnayn, it says that there was a news present of him from the beginning. And then in the story of Musa, there was knowledge about the boy, and the replacement that was to come will be more pure and closer in mercy. So that mention of mercy is Iman. And then the last part of the story, in both the story of Musa and Dhul-Qarnayn, there's a wall constructed or reconstructed, and when compensation for this deed is brought up, they both refuse payment. They know that the payment of their Lord is greater than what the people could give them, and they're doing it because they've been commanded to maintain balance and to protect something greater than what the people they're helping can comprehend. So they both bring their wisdom to benefit the needy, the orphans, the miskin, and it's the trust that they must uphold and fulfill that comes with bearing knowledge. So with that in mind, it's clear that this stage represents Amal, and that they must now use the knowledge they have been given to benefit the rest of humanity. And so we see this with Dhul-Qarnayn, how he instructs people to bring him materials, and he uses his own skills, including all four of the elements, to safeguard them from Magog and Magog. And mentioning that the people can scarcely discern any speech reflects their ignorance, and is therefore an indication that their great need for his help. And then Al-Khidr shows the same use of his knowledge to benefit, firstly by having the wisdom to know that there's a treasure underneath the wall that must be protected until their rightful heirs, the orphans, come to retrieve it. But it's also an indication that they're living amongst the ignorant, because those people don't own the knowledge that he's protecting. And then another indication that it's Amal is the clear segregation after unification. So Dhul-Qarnayn quite literally segregates the people from Gog and Magog by building the wall, while in the story of Musa and Al-Khidr, there's a separation between Musa and Al-Khidr, because that's where they part their ways, but then there's also a subtle separation between those who are righteous and the townspeople, because the townspeople refuse to help them. And then the last connection is with Allah's name Al-Qahar. So I use the example in the story of Musa that the orphans, having no worldly attachments, they don't have parents, they only rely on Allah, they only rely on their Lord, so that connects to the name Al-Qahar. And then in the story of Dhul-Qarnayn, when it mentions the promise of my Lord comes to term, he'll make it the barrier level with the earth, and truly the promise of my Lord is true. It shows that Allah is the only one who can determine the outcome. He's all overpowering, and nothing can interfere with his plan.
So that's comprehensive. That's good. Very good. Alhamdulillah. What's here? What do you have? Whatever you have.
Just at the end when he built from Gog and Magog barrier, what he's building is it's between the two mountains. Two mountains. Between the two mountains. And so it's something, just the mountain illusion, I suppose, that was kind of granting that it's something steady
Mm-hmm.
right? For the to keep it like at least. And that's, yeah, so he builds it and
Okay.
they pray from Allah, not
Mhm.
recompense
Mm-hmm.
from what they tells them to follow him.
That's right.
And that's the third one, right? So then the first one
Mm-hmm.
is the water, and then the second one is the land.
Okay. So the beginning is water, the end is mountains?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those two are, yeah, are also pairs, like, because mountains and water or oceans, they are like the waves in the ocean is like, so mountain is like also is like a frozen wave, but so kind of they has that contrast between solid and liquid, and what stands upright as opposed to what flows. Okay. And sujood, of course, as opposed to standing. Yes, Uqbat, what do you have?
I was reflecting a lot on the concept of tamkeen.
Hmm?
I didn't delve into the details of the story of the concept of tamkeen and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the empowerment for those who have chosen subhanahu wa ta'ala
Mhm.
and what are the means that He will give them to empower them. As I mentioned before, tamkeen and batini with the ilm and hikmah, but they have to take the asbab for that, and that's some of those who are Muslimin. Like Allah said about Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, ولما بلغ أشده واستوى آتيناه حكما وعلما كذلك نجزي المحسنين. So بلوغ الشدة, that level, they have to be applied, and they cannot be applied unless they are from and not from Allah.
Mm-hmm.
And when they are from the Muhsinin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use them to help those who are weak and المستضعفين في الأرض.
Okay.
As Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Insan, يطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. So this is the concept of ihsan, and elaborating about it, the true purpose that they have, because they established the prayer and they did the zakah, and they come of those who are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made who sent His rahmah on them. When Allah mentioned in Surah An-Nur, وعد الله الذين منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم وليمكنن لهم دينهم الذي ارتضى لهم وليبدلنهم بعد خوفهم أمنا. And the shart is the condition for that is the ibadah, يعبدونني ولا يشركون بي شيئا. As Sayyidina Ibrahim عليه السلام, دينا قيما ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. So how they become of those who Allah gives them the empowerment, they are not ascribing partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they have complete tawheed, and that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen him, as He has chosen Sayyidina Dawood and Sayyidina Sulaiman. لقد آتينا داود منا فضلا يا جبال أوبي.
Okay.
And not deeply, but it's like the concept of the three stories. So the first story, Maghrib al-Shams,
Mhm.
reflecting on it as
As what?
Maghrib al-Shams.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Tawbah. And the Inaba fulfilled by the Iman, because they believed in the unseen, because they are those who are ذاكرين Allah. So الإيمان بالغيب
Mm-hmm.
لأنهم من التوابين فبالتالي عندهم الذكر الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة. So the second concept, مطلع الشمس is نور العلم, the light of علم. They have يقين, certainty by the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And
No, but so the second one you make the second scene is what? Ilm?
yes, مطلع الشمس.
So the first one contain both Tawbah and Iman?
Yes, begins with Tawbah, ends with Iman.
Okay.
Because the segregation when happens,
Mhm.
وأما وسهل لهم من أمرنا يسرا. So the Yusuf from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came. فأما من أعطى واتقى وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى. So they are from التوابين, and then they have the belief, and this gives them the ascension to become those who are مسلمين تسليم وجه لله سبحانه وتعالى. ومن يسلم وجهه لله وهو محسن فقد استمسك بالعروة. Because they are holding tight to the book of Allah سبحانه وتعالى. They are مصلحين in the earth. والذين يمسكون بالكتاب وأقاموا الصلاة إنا لا نضيع أجر المصلحين. So they have the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why they can become righteous in the earth and help those who are weak and needy by the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So using the power in the right way, that's the second. And the last one, التمكين also. Oh, I forgot the second one, Imam. They have also yaqeen, certified by the ilm, because they reach the level بين السدين as they reach مجمع البحرين. So there is a link between. So they reach the point of fasl and segregation by the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they are from those who are given the ilm from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو وملائكته والعلم قائما بالقسط. لا إله إلا هو العزيز الحكيم. So they are from أولو العلم, and then they are going to build the wall by the third empowerment. So this is the outwardly empowerment, التمكين الظاهري, because they fulfilled the two parts of al-batini when they have the tawbah and iman. So outwardly the amal is manifested by building the wall and having the
Okay. So what about the last one? The last part, the last story. What does that correspond to? In terms of the trigonal, because everything should be explained.
that's
Just,
the amal.
but now you're making it for them.
Tawbah, iman, and amal.
You say tawbah, iman, ilm, and amal. That's what it is.
Yes.
So that's four now.
Ilm and iman, they are connected, right? Isn't it al-hikmah wal I thought they are like linked together in the second one. That's what I thought.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, you have to. So in comparing it to the story, but that was the question. To compare the two stories, the story of Sayyidina Musa and Al-Khidr on the one hand, and the story of Zulqarnain on the other hand, and draw a correspondence between them in the light of the trigonals.
There is a word is repeated in the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, Sayyidina Al-Khidr, but in the story of Sayyidina Dhul-Qarnayn is بلوغ, فلما بلغ. So the بلوغ and الإطلاق. So these are two ways, but I couldn't know how to reflect in them. Because in each story, the three parts, فانطلق, فلما بلغ. So how we can reflect. And the link is close to what was mentioned.
What is your observation? Have any insight to contribute? Barakallah.
So my observation is Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam, they are from
Mm-hmm.
we'll see the tafsir of Dhul-Qarnayn, where Allah says, the tamkeen is equal to the rahmah and ilm that Allah granted.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And just like she said, فَانْطَلَقَ and فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا.
Yes.
So فَانْطَلَقَ is the same thing as فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا.
Yes.
Track.
That's right.
Like you said last week or 2 weeks ago, that the first part is the cracking of the ship. That corresponds to water, which is the Idaba, the beginning, and murky water in the sense of Sayyidina Dhul-Qarnayn. That's the first part. And
Okay.
the second one is the Adala he created in that sense. Dhul-Qarnayn did the Adala by killing the ball and replacing the ball that he showed with the character. And the Adala here is just like أما من ظلم فسوف نعذبه ثم يرد إلى ربه فيعذبه. And that is in a sense kind of a tawqeed. To do Adala is to unify everything. There is no varying parts.
That's right.
Justify the whole thing and make them one.
That's right.
That is al-wahid. And the third part is al-amal. That amal shouldn't be dependent on whether something good was done or something bad. But in the sense of Sayyidina Ibrahim, refused him food and drink to shelter him. Regardless, he did what is good, what is right. And that is in the case of the yatim, it looks like they are also yatim in that sense, that they don't understand what the future holds. But they ask him for help, he helps them regardless. So those who were not able to understand, in that sense, they resemble the yatim that Dhul-Qarnayn actually built to help them.
Yeah.
So the world is in correspondence in that sense.
It's very good. It's a good summary. Okay.
And that is the amal, last part. The amal. It shouldn't be dependent, like you have said, it shouldn't be dependent on other people's help.
Yes. Exactly. بوجه الله. Let's see now. So, let's see what do you have to contribute?
Just one thing, I'm not sure if this is already,
Okay.
this connection has been made, but between the second two stories,
Okay.
where with Khidr alayhi salam, they're traveling on the earth, and then he brings the boy to death. So that corresponds with the idea of the rising of the sun. So there's like the transition from wet to dry, so
Yes.
like, the dryness of the land.
That's right.
And then also the idea of the removal of the sitr, like there's no covering between the people and the sun. So that's kind of like when the cover is removed between you and Allah, that's like the bringing to death.
That's very good. Yes, that's a good point. Okay. Inshallah, we'll continue. We'll pray and then inshallah finish the class.